fly the plane and then shoot artillery. And then in turn, he taught me how to fly the planes. And he could take a nap, and then I could fly the plane and shoot the artillery. So we had a lot of fun times with that and learned a lot of things. And we had the little fixed wing that's like a Piper Cub, but it's reinforced and had rockets on the end. And when you're flying and you see something down by your foot there, you do what they call a rocket dive, and it's come back over and then hit straight into it. And you're traveling probably 250, 300 miles an hour in that kind of dive. And you hit the rockets to release them, and you stop. It's amazing how an airplane can stop dead still in the air like that. There was another time he was piloting, but I was awake and taking some photographs. There was no air traffic control. So we had a jet coming at our same altitude in the opposite direction right for us. And I was able to take a rather blurry photograph, but the jet went belly up and just missed us. We were doing probably 150 miles an hour. He was doing 600 miles an hour, and we didn't miss by very much. So there was so many instances that I can recall that, you know, I should have bought my lunch, and it didn't happen. So I found that with the psychology, it helped me get over the PTs, you know, post-traumatic stress. And after being single for about 6 years and really leading the wildlife, you know, there was no conceal and carry in Chicago back then. I was from Chicago originally, but I did all the time. And one time I didn't, and it was during the Chicago riots. I happened to be dating a gal from Playboy at the time, and she was stuck. And she was a secretary, she wasn't a model. So I went from where I was to get her, and the problem was you go on the interstates up there and there's bridges, and kids were throwing cinder blocks off of the bridges and hitting cars and stuff like that. And again, I felt totally naked. I felt like I was in Tanzania. In Vietnam, when I was coming back, I was in the field and slept there Thursday night. They picked me up, flew me back to the base camp, gave me a day to pack up, picked me up, flew me to Tan Son Nhut, and that's where I took my weapons away for the night, because the next morning we were flying back to the States. I would have gladly given up my clothes if they would let me have a weapon. I just felt so hopeless. And Tan Son Nhut was a big air base, but it had also been attacked a number of times, so I felt very vulnerable and did not like that feeling. So, and we got back, and I was, Westmoreland was the commanding general, and he said anybody that came over, you know, in January, my deployment was January 5th, he wanted back home by Christmas. So I was back in O'Hare Airport at about 15 minutes to midnight on Christmas Day. So he kept his word, he got me home. Unfortunately, I didn't have a jacket. I was in my summer khaki outfit, and there was a snowstorm in Chicago like it normally happens in December. So it's kind of chilly. Yes, sir.
Now, is there any just one thing that you learned about yourself, or just the human spirit, just from going through that tour in Vietnam, that just stepped out in your mind?
Hard to say one thing. You have to be focused. You have to give up some of the morals that you lived with in peacetime. Things like modesty. There was nothing to walk around naked to get to the shower, or, you know, be checked out for leeches. Still have problem. I used to be an avid hunter before I went. I still have problems killing things. I have not gone back to hunting. So I had a big moral problem with thou shalt not kill and accept that. So I think evil does exist. You know, I wish it could be prayed away, but some of these folks are so evil that, you know, I don't know that prayer is enough to get rid of So, you know, we lose our innocence. You know, I fought as hard as I could and did what I could, tried to set an example. I received a number of commendations that I'm very proud of. And apparently set up an image for my kids that they've tried to live to. The way I got into talking about this and being more open with all those experiences, one of my sons, my youngest son, is a history teacher at Triad High School. And he asked me to come in, and I prepared a PowerPoint presentation with some pictures and more commentary, and went in and gave that to his class. So, that started about 9 years ago, so I've had an opportunity to talk about those experiences so they're not nearly as intense as they first were. What wasn't really interesting to me was not in Vietnam, but was in Washington, D.C. We were out there, and I guess that was in 2004, whenever John F. Kennedy Jr. died, and I can't remember the exact year. I was out on a business trip, and my wife had come with me, and decided to go and see the wall. I had not seen it previously. And it was a very hot day in Washington, very humid. And as we were walking into the spot, all of these Huey helicopters start coming in flights and going to the White House. Found out subsequently that JFK's Jr.'s death had brought people in. But you talk about flashbacks, you know, hot, humid. There's the statue of the guys, you know, in uniform standing there, and these Hueys start coming by, and I'm like, you know, whoa, what's happening? But very emotional. And coming out of it, I was, you know, doing my best to turn off the tear ducts. And, a young guy came up and said, "Thank you for your service." Pretty emotional. So, anything else that I can try and answer for you there?
I just had 2 more questions.
Sure.
So one, how do you, like, in your opinion, do you have a lot of sympathy for the people who've had to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan
Oh, yeah.
in similar conditions, almost to Vietnam with the
Well,
resurgence?
it's a lot drier over there, and the politics is a lot worse. I've talked to a number of folks from the Afghanistan theater that if there's a guy standing there, he's firing at you, and you start raising your weapon, if he lays the weapon down, you are not authorized to return fire. If I were to go over there, I don't know how long I'd last, because you know, nobody's going to shoot at me and then walk away, or wait for me to turn my back and shoot again. You know, as a minimum, we have a little fisticuffs, but yeah, I have pity for what they've got to put up with over there with this politics. This politically correct nonsense is, you know, if you want to be a warrior, let a warrior fight. You know, if you don't want a war, then get out of their way and let them come home to their families. You know, don't send them over there handcuffed and expect them to win something. We could have won Vietnam. You know, it was politicians that stopped that. It was never the United States against Vietnam. It was the United States drawing a line in the sand to China, saying enough in terms of this Southeast Asia expansion. And that was effective. Even though we had to give up, where some people say, you know, we lost. They don't ever say that in front of me. Or any of the other guys. So. Yeah, when we came back, they encouraged all of us to get rid of the white walls and, you know, anything that might give a person the opportunity to think that we're ex-military. And several people said, "Yeah, we don't want them to hurt you." We would all smile back and say, doubtful that that would be the case. I'm sure they didn't want us to hurt them. So. Another question, or
No, I don't think so.
that's about it? Anybody else?
Did you receive any accolades upon?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I've got a Bronze Star, which is Congressional Medal of Honor, the Silver Star, and then the Bronze Star. And so I got one of those, and everybody says, what did you get it for? And I said, I don't know, I was just doing my job, so. And I got the Air Medal with the first oak leaf cluster for the amount of hours. I averaged probably over 10 hours a day flying every day. And so some days that I didn't fly, that meant we were up there a lot longer. We learned night flying, learned how to shoot artillery at night. Did not take well when it's different today with GPS. That's the one thing that's different in the war. We lost a couple patrols that get caught in ambush because they weren't on the route that they're supposed to. If we know where they are, I can put a ring of fire, put artillery all the way around them, and nobody's ever going to touch them. But if they're not where they're supposed to be, you know, I could shoot around and it could kill them. So with the GPS, I'd be able to identify that right away and then be able to put that ring of fire around them.
So you would spend time like designating artillery strikes from the plane?
Oh yeah, I would, yeah. Yeah, I had the opportunity one time to lead a mechanized infantry outfit battalion command, and I would normally fly together. And we went on the ground, and he went over to talk to some folks, and we came under some heavy fire, and so he got on the radio. We used to call it a squawk box. Get on the radio and said, Dan, take it up and get us out of here. So he put me in charge of the battalion, and I kind of let him out. And I was more cautious than him. I would fire artillery. You know, I didn't care what was out there. I'm going to make sure it's not in our way. And we got him home.
Well, I have no more questions. I don't know if anyone else does.
Questions?
No.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was great to hear the story.